Item on the agenda. The park at 34th Street and 15th Avenue naming. Turn it over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of council. This has been in the works for a while. As council knows, we constructed the park that now is where the municipal pool was. We opened that park, was it last year?
In December. Mm-hmm.
December, yeah. And we've been following the city's policy on naming city facilities. And so with that, I'll ask Brian Stone to recap the process per policy, the input that we had, the process that we've had, and then once he's done that, we will suggest a little process that might help us to narrow down names and get to a name for the park.
Thanks,
Brian.
Jim. Good evening, Mayor Rudy and members of council. Good to see you all. Yeah, kind of a fun and exciting time to name a park. It seems like it has been some time since we opened it last December, but as we started discussing, we kind of let it lapse and then found the city policy that in 2001, a resolution was passed on how we name our parks within the city. So within that, I worked with Lance Snow, our communications manager, and we started the process of submittals and reaching out to the community. And in that, within the resolution and the policy, we send out information regarding the park, and we have 60 days for people to submit their naming options for that facility. Described in there are some of the different classifications that are just guidelines that we can use. And as you can see in your staff report, it's places and features, historical sites, descriptive names, organizations, living people, deceased people, just to kind of help us guide us in an area. This park is located in a neighborhood where we had an old municipal pool. And so not a ton of history on that site. The subdivision is listed in here, and I just wanted to show you what went out in the Evans Express. It went out on Facebook. You could do it on Twitter. And through this process, we got 86 submittals. Some of them, maybe not. We'll just say they were creative and kind of fun. So with that, within that policy, it also says that we take the submittals to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, which we did in August, and they narrowed it down for their recommendations to bring to you guys this evening on the top portion of the page that I printed out today. So what I did is I kind of pulled out the sections from the names to try to help maybe narrow it down. You guys get to make the final decision on this process. So if you have ideas, we can get them jotted down on the easel here, and then we can start narrowing it down to get a park for that name. These are just, again, recommendations. You guys get final decisions. So if there's something that pops into your head, or you've heard something or thought of something in the meantime, please feel free to share that tonight. Again, it's a park. It's a name that we'll have for a long, long time at this facility. So with that, does anybody have any questions?
What I recommended to the mayor was just we might go around. Brian can capture, top couple, top two favorite names, if they're on here or not. On the flip chart, we'll see how that goes. We'll see if we start to get some favorites. Council can go from there, how you'd like to kind of settle on one. If it's helpful in the end and we have a long list, we do have some of those sticky dots that if you want to go, you guys might want to decide to go up and put a dot on your favorites, and that might be a way to vote. But Mayor, it's your process.
Yeah, that works. So let's, like Jim said, let's go through and name your top 2 or 3, if Brian doesn't mind writing those down, whether they're on this list or I actually have one that I'd like to add to the list.
Perfect.
So I'd like to add the Charles Welch Park. He is the Medal of Honor winner in our cemetery. And I would always love to honor people that served, and can't get a bigger honor than that.
It's
by
Welch,
winning.
right, Mayor?
W-E-L-C-H. Yep.
Very
So
good.
he was a Medal of Honor winner that we have in our Evans Cemetery. Then my next one is Elbridge Park and Heritage Park. And just for people in the audience, the Elbridge Park is named after, is it Jerry Elbridge? He was the first settler of Weld County. He arrived in Colorado in 1830 and settled along the Platte River northeast of Evans. First Weld County resident.
And what was your last one? Heritage?
Heritage Park. I just kind of like the theme, Heritage Days. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
I would concur with those as well.
Those three?
Yes.
Okay.
I do want to give a shout to the Dean Melby Park. That would be a good name too.
The little times
It's on
two
the
when
list.
they come up, or check mark, or somehow.
It is on the list.
It is on the list.
Oh,
When you hear it twice, you put another asterisk.
He's like, I know it is. I put it on there.
He's self-nominated. Well, I'd like to throw out a new one too, since I forgot about the 60-day thing. That was where the municipal pool site was, and I would like to chime in with municipal park.
okay.
And then I think I also like Elbridge, and I kind of am, we've been calling it the 34th Street Park for so long that that's just kind of stuck with me too.
Would you like me to add that to the list?
I would like it, yeah. How many choices is that? Is that three? Is that my
That
three?
is three,
Okay,
I
cool.
live in a neighborhood. That's a good favorite.
Amanda?
Name it Clark Park.
There you go.
I will second Heritage Park.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's scary.
Do you have any other favorites or any additions?
No,
Heritage is
not
there.
to add to the confusion, I'm good with that.
Well, since apparently 14 people submitted Wilma Flintstone Memorial, I'm gonna have to have that one added because apparently 14 people submitted that out of 86, I believe. So let's put that one up there.
78 nachos.
Flintstone Park.
No, only one person put that one up.
Any other ones you want to nominate or vote for, Fred?
I would also like to, I think it would be nice to honor further one of our Medal of Honor winners as long as there was some kind of acknowledgement of why it was named for that park, placed there in the plaque, stating why it was named after Charles Welch.
So Charles Welch?
And third one would probably be Elbridge.
Elbridge, okay.
Heritage Park and Elbridge Park. And I'm good with those two.
Those two. Just to throw it out there, the Parks and Rec Commission also agreed that Elbridge was their top vote getter as well. Just to throw that out there.
In
One
town.
more vote.
There's one more voter right here.
Tammy, did you do your homework? Do you know the name of the park you like the most?
The name.
If not, you would.
See them all admit.
It's all good.
It's
If
rent
you like
week.
any of these, or anything else that comes to your mind, you can.
Here's the list, and then there's other ones that we still want.
This is the Medal of Honor winner that's buried at the cemetery for your reference. If you
Elbridge Park would be named after the first resident of Weld County. Heritage, and the rest of them just kind of go by name. I just might have to mayor erase the Wilma Flintstone one, Fred. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
There, I had to bring it in there because apparently 14 people voted for it, so out of 86.
Strike it, I can't erase it.
We gotta represent the folks.
veto it.
Any pop out to you?
I like the thought of the first resident of Weld County. I like the thought of that one.
Any others?
I like the Heritage Park too. Those two are the ones that stand out for me.
Okay.
Just to speed the process, it looks like you can eliminate the bottom.
Yeah, so it looks like we're good.
Sorry, Fred.
That's okay.
It looks like 14, to me, the 14 people voted for it, so I feel they need to be represented.
How
So I guess let's do this one more time. Out of the 3 that are left, let's just now put something on there for your number 1. And my number 1 will be the Charles Welch.
Okay.
Mine as well.
You as well? Okay.
Probably Elbridge. With all respect.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm
That's-
fine with any of the
either of the
3.
three, yeah.
Amanda, you got a favorite out of those 3?
Yeah.
She did,
Oh, you did,
Heritage.
okay.
Should,
Fred?
I will go with Charles Welch too.
Heritage.
Hi, Ally.
Go ahead.
We'll go for another vote.
Yeah.
I like Heritage.
Okay, so was I the only of the Elbridge?
Yeah.
So then
You're the
I
one.
was,
3 and 3.
I'll
You're
do it.
tiebreaker.
So you're
Now
the
I might be a
tiebreaker.
tiebreaker.
Yep, you would be the
We're
deciding
awesome,
vote.
so,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm all good with all.
yeah, I'm good with,
Yeah, how many votes did we have, on them?
Well, now it's down to 2. Let's go through it one more time.
Nothing from Welch.
Let's go through it one more time. Now it's down to 2. I'm Welch.
Welch.
First 2 Welches.
I'm on the fence.
Okay.
Okay.
On the fence part.
On the fence part.
You're still with Heritage?
Yeah.
I'm going with Welch.
They have so tiebreaker.
Same, Heritage.
Exactly.
Heritage.
All right.
Anybody have any arguments here? Come
I live in
on,
that
let's debate
neighborhood.
it.
I live in the
You
neighborhood.
live in the
Are you
neighborhood.
familiar with Welch enough? Because we have something at the cemetery that honors that portion of it as well. Within our scavenger hunt, she did a really nice job. Sam did a great job of explaining that we could do something very similar at
Oh,
the park.
so
if
he's
that's-
already got something,
We've got the memorial that the Eagle Scout made at our Evans Cemetery.
oh, okay, cool.
Mhm.
All right, I'll go for it. Mr. Welch.
Welch?
Welch.
So are we gonna go Welch Park, Charles Welch Park? How do you guys want to do that?
I like Charles
Charles
Welch.
Welch.
Charles Welch.
Is there any council member that just doesn't like that at all, or is everybody okay with it? Okay.
Great,
All right.
great job.
Nice job.
Thank you. Great addition, Mayor.
Thank you.
Sorry, Welch.
Sorry, Wilma Flintstone.
And the 14
How'd I
people
mess up?
voted.
Oh, you did? Because I tried going
78.
there
All right.
and Kevin's guest, and it said,
I actually like the one where,
not very good.
his name,
Next item on the agenda is the police facility needs assessment, and we'll turn it back over to Chief, Commander, and Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. So as council knows, we've been doing a lot of planning around infrastructure. We've done a lot of work on roads, utilities. I talked about parks now. But one thing we haven't made strides on or talked as much about is our facilities needs. And when we look at our facilities needs, the clearest need that we have really for a new facility or a replacement facility is our police station, our police department facility connected to this building. So late in 2018, council gave the nod, directed us to go do just a first high-level facilities study. Had a third-party independent consultant come in who does a lot of these studies all across the country and just look at demand factors like population and our planned or expected population growth, our staffing levels, our service model, the community, the crime rates, and all of those things. And then, and I won't steal too much of the chief's thunder, but then was able to kind of put that into some context for what we might need as we grow, what we need today and what we might need as we grow. So I just want to finish kind of an opening remark to say that we don't have a funding source identified for this. You know, I think it's important. I wanted to bring it to the council, kind of start the conversation about it. After the chief finishes, there is one potential funding source that we have, but it may or may not match up with the best facility site and need that we have. So we can come back to that at the end, but I know this will be a long process planning for us, and it will need a funding plan at some point, but I did just want to bring this information to council's attention. One last thing, the reason we brought, this has taken some time, is after the consultant finished his study late last year, first part of this year, the chief and I looked at it and said, okay, that's objective data, that's based on the consultant's recommendation. Let's go out and, make sure the council sees the context for this for some other real live police department facilities in, Colorado, ones in Wyoming, that have been built over the last decade or so, that you can have some perspective on what what is actually being built. So you'll see the consultant's recommendations tonight, and then also the analysis or comparison with actual facilities in the area. Chief.
Thanks, Jim. Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Chief Brandt. So just in terms of a little bit of background on how this assessment was conducted, DLR Group has been involved in all over Colorado. They build a lot of police facilities, court facilities, jail facilities. They're a well-known, reputable company, not just in Colorado, but nationwide. So we commissioned them to help us with this assessment, and the assessment took several phases. I guess the first phase was sort of a perspective of where we anticipate the city going population-wise and service expectations from the police in the future. So that involved work with, the economic growth side of the equation. So that's where we got our population projection numbers from that. We went with the not the most conservative, we went with the middle ground projections. I think we had growth figures based on 1% per year, 3% per year, and 5%. And we settled on a 2% per year growth rate, trying to be as conservative as we can. The consultant recommended doing a 20-year growth plan and building a facility sort of in light of that 20-year growth plan. So that was based, the population projections sort of drove where we think our service levels need to be at that point. So we started assessing staffing needs to service that level of population in the future. The consultant recommended that we have a 10-year benchmark and a 20-year benchmark. So we projected staffing needs at both of those benchmarks. And then the consultant came on the ground and did what they call a deep dive. And they spent 2 full days in the facility. They toured the facility, they watched operations, they watched business flow, they interviewed units, they interviewed individuals, they did focus group studies with the staff, trying to determine what we do, how they do it, where they do it, and where we need to go in the future. So a very comprehensive study. They spent a lot of time putting together the data and analyzing it, and then comparing it to what's out there now. What are folks doing, and where do I want to be? That want to be piece, for example, something like, we use victim services quite a bit in our police department, but we don't have any space for them. So I'd like to have a victim services office for victim services in the future. We don't have soft interview rooms to interview victims or children. So that's sort of a cutting edge facility thing for police. So I wanted that in the future. So they include those kinds of things. So that's sort of the basis of how we move forward with the projection. They came up with a 30 or 20-year growth plan projecting that we were going to need about 37,000 square feet of building space. Right now we're at about 9,100 square feet, so they're looking at a significant growth. But they also reported that based on population growth in the city, the police department has not kept up staffing-wise already with service needs, which I would concur with, but we're not keeping up with that either, and we're working on that, and council's already helping us with that next year. So some quick background. Our current facility was built in '97, originally designed at 4,800 square feet, and we had about 20 staff, including non-sworn approximately. The building was added to in 2003 to the current size, and back then we had about 27 sworn and 2 non-sworn staff. So for effective January 1st, we're going to have a sworn staff of 38 with 4 non-sworn. So we've grown 40% over the past 16 years, but we haven't increased our facility at all, with the exception of adding a property room downstairs, because our property room was at capacity. So we built a second room downstairs, which is also approaching capacity. To try to maximize our space, we added the bullpen. Those of you that have been back to PD, you see we have sort of a 6 workstation bullpen back there for patrol. We used to have an office for the SRO for Teresa to use back in that back corner you can see. We had to vacate her out to make room for 2 sergeants to occupy that space. So we're trying to maximize to the extent possible the available space we had. So these are some of the challenges we've had. They're in the memo and the staff report, so I'm not going to go over them, but clearly the take-backs from the entire assessment was, and I didn't need the assessors to tell me this, but we don't have enough room to be effective. A couple of my major concerns with our current layout is, number one, security of the building, security of staff working in the building. For instance, we don't have anywhere to take a suspect for an interview except through the main part of the police department, exposing them to everything. They have access to everything. There's no way to bring them into a secure area, and it's an unsafe environment. We have no place to secure them, and that becomes unsafe. So we have a lot of security issues that I think need to be dealt with immediately, and we have some space issues that are becoming very problematic, and we're looking at some options now to see if we can even look at some off-site locations for workspace, because we're just too packed right now to be effective. So those are some of the underlying, I guess, issues driving us today, and this assessment is also planning, of course, to bring us up to current national standards. So in light of their findings that our staffing levels haven't really kept up with population growth, I'll just refer back to a staffing assessment we did in 2012. And that staffing assessment said then that we needed 36 sworn officers just to handle calls for service and not do anything else. We are currently at that same authorized staffing strength, but we also have 1 assigned to the drug task force. We have 1 assigned to traffic. So we're effectively at 34 sworn positions to handle what we were handling in 2012. So I'm not going to berate this, but we are dealing with that. We did add 1 detective position in 2012 to bring up our investigative capacity. So the 20-year growth projections, as I already mentioned, 2% per annum. Our current staffing levels are demonstrated in that left-hand column. Our projected 2028, that 10-year benchmark staffing levels are indicated, and then the 2038. And you can see we're anticipating going from a current staffing about 40 up to about 68, and that's conservative. That's a conservative number for 2038, but we're looking at adding quite a bit of staff to keep up with projected growth.
What's the projected population in 2038?
The projected population is over 30,000.
I think it's 37.
Yeah.
35.7?
Yeah, and right now we're
37.
staffed for about 20,000. So we're looking at almost doubling our population then. So again, our current square footage is 9,100. Staffing needs in 2028 are going to be about 34,000 square feet, and 2038, 37,000 square feet to accommodate those staffing levels. Keep in mind that's not just workspace, that's also evidence, locker rooms, bathrooms, it's all that stuff, interview rooms, soft rooms, all that as well. So in terms of comparison, we went out and looked at some agencies that have fairly recently built facilities, and these are the most recent ones in our region. We even went to Cheyenne because they have the newest facility, although Firestone is having one built as we speak. It's almost ready to open. And I just want to do a quick comparison of not just size, but what they have in terms of functional amenity. And you can see that Windsor built theirs only 9 years ago. They built it at 15,000 square feet. In speaking to the chief up there, their staffing's already far exceeded the capacity of the building. They're already looking at building another building. They didn't plan, frankly. They didn't plan well enough for this. Their population is at 33,000, and their staffing level is, as you can see, their authorized staff is 56, quite a bit larger than us, but they way underbuilt that facility. Firestone hasn't opened yet. They are servicing a 30,000 population. I'm sorry, a 14,000 population, and they're building a 30,000 square foot facility. And if you look down where that bolded number is, Windsor has about 280 square feet per staff working in that building. Firestone will have about 882 square feet per staff. And that's not just office space, of course, that's everything, but that just gives you something to compare by. Lafayette has a building that it's a little bit old, but it's still a very, I guess, contemporary in terms of functionality. And they built it on a 15-year plan. So they're to the point now they're going to have to start looking at a new facility themselves. But they're serving a population of 28,000. Their facility is 28,000. They've got about 538 square feet per staff member. Greeley built that very nice building. If you've been over there on 10th Avenue, they did a beautiful job on that. That was a 20-year build out for a population of 120,000. Their square footage is 110,000 for 211 staff, 521 square feet per. Cheyenne is the newest building. They're planning way ahead. That's a 20 to 40 year build out plan. Their current service population is 69,000. Their facility, however, is close to Greeley's size, 93,000. So I'm anticipating, I think, quite a bit more growth in the near future with an average square foot per staff of 620. There's our current, we're at about 216 square feet per staff member. And then our projected comes out to about 608 square feet. But if you look at the square footage by service population and staffing level, it's arguable we're right in line with what sort of the recommendation is currently. In terms of what functional facilities they have within the building, things like a booking holding area, just a secure area to bring in people and book them safely. We don't have one of those. But every other police facility does, and the new one that we're proposing or that the DLR identified would. Soft interview rooms, everybody has them. They're sort of state of the art today. Evidence processing space, we don't have them, but that's a very common piece of equipment that police departments have. A sally port where you can safely bring in prisoners with a police car and put them into a sally port and bring them out safely. They don't have a chance to escape. We don't have anything like that, but that's a kind of a common piece for contemporary police departments. Community room where you can access a community room without going through the police department. We don't have one. We will eventually one day. And secure parking. And covered parking is sort of the trend right now. We probably would have saved a little bit of money on hail damage if we had a place to put those police cars. And so those are just some snapshot of comparisons. And we just have some quick photos of kind of what's out there now. You can see a nice secure, at Windsor PD, a nice secure booking area. Their detective workstations they're sizable, the detectives can work, they're separated, so they're sight and sound separated from each other. They can have private conversations with suspects and victims without having to relocate. Secure patrol car parking, Windsor, it's covered with secure access gates for employees. Evidence processing in Sally Port is sort of a best practices in policing today. They have a separate intoxilizer room. They have a nice locker room with the newer lockers that hold all of our equipment. They have electricity in the locker so they can charge their flashlights and store their boots separate and all their equipment comfortably. Our lockers are sort of the school-sized lockers right now. I mean, they're functional, but they're not great. Lafayette, very similar, secure booking area, nice secure lobby area with a meeting room off to the side.
Excuse me, Chief.
Huh?
I was talking about booking areas. Are we booking people, and we don't have jail cells or anything here, so
Correct.
Are we taking people that need to be booked somewhere else?
Yes. Right now, instead of
So
coming.
then you're planning on jail cells and keeping people here?
No jail cells, but securing people so we can book them here, we can interview them here, we can interrogate them here, and everything is nice and safe, and then all we do is put them in the police car, take them up, and drop them off.
Okay, so now we're just putting them in the police car and going to a facility that has all of this stuff and talking to them there.
Right, but we don't have a place to interview them securely in those locations. I mean, literally all we can do is drop them off and put them in jail. So right now we have to take them to our station to conduct interviews, to get the pictures, maybe get some prints, talk to witnesses there, make sure, to investigate the entire thing. And right now we have no place to securely put those suspects while all that stuff is happening. So our option is take them directly to jail on what charges we have, but we have to do the preliminary investigation on the front side. So I would want holding cells, not jail cells, but holding cells so we could secure suspects. Right now, we don't have anything like that. And suspects literally can freely move around if we're not supervising them. There's no way to secure them. Again, secure patrol car parking, secure access, covered parking. Lafayette Community Room, Separate Investigations Division, report and evidence processing. Right now, we have the bullpen. Locker room is similar. Soft interview rooms, a separate traffic unit. Secure booking room in Cheyenne, secure lobby area with access to a community room, secure patrol car parking, and they have underground parking as well, so if inclement weather comes in, they can actually go underground. Community room, nice big community rooms for folks to hold their meetings, detective workstations, separate, nice workstations. They have separate evidence preparation room, which again is sort of cutting edge. You want to keep that evidence secure. Right now, it's just open to the whole police department the way we're doing it now. These secure facilities are state of the art. Locker rooms, of course, soft interview rooms, victim advocate rooms, secure booking, and lobby area. And in response to your question, council member, I don't think any of those facilities have jails. Greeley PD doesn't have a jail. Cheyenne doesn't have an in-house jail. Windsor doesn't have an in-house jail. But everybody has booking rooms because that's the efficient way to do it. Greeley, secure parking, secure marked car parking and employee parking. The Donahue room, very nice room, used a lot for community events. Detective workstations, nice sizable lockers and locker rooms. Vehicle processing, victim advocate office. And then this is sort of our existing facility now in comparison. So I think that the point is that when I first saw this report and I first saw the number, I thought, man, that's a lot of square feet. You know, that's kind of surprised how much we need. But once we did our own assessment of what's out there and what people have, it looks like they're right in line with what we're actually going to need in the future. So with that, Jim,
Yeah, I can just conclude our remarks. You know, there's nothing magic about 37,123 feet, and I know that the cost figure, I believe the consultants threw out is in the 15 to $20 million range. It's a lot of money. So if we ever had a plan and a funding plan and path to make this happen, we would have to get into a design phase that would look at the resources that we think we'd have. You know, there may not be everything that the police department wants, but this is kind of showing us what the state-of-the-art or even common functionalities are and space needs are for a professional police department like ours. So in terms of funding, we don't have a current funding source. Some of the ways that we could do it would be to, you know, of course, save up the money for that. It would take a long time. We could, you know, start setting money aside as it's available, like we have for arterial roads. We don't currently have that money additional to the roads that we could set aside. We could look at a bonding plan at some point that would enable us to build the facility and then service that debt. You know, we'd roughly, very roughly, and Amanda will know that it's rough, but I think for $15 million, it's on the order of $1.5 million of debt service per year. Other ways that we could do this, you know, there could be certainly a special tax for the police facility, either sales tax or, you know, commonly cities use mill levy increases for this sort of basic facility. The other source that we do have that has not been fully earmarked is that when the voters approved our sales tax on food, one of the approved purposes for that revenue was expansion of the community complex. I've arm wrestled figuratively with Scott Krob about, you know, couldn't we use some of that money to expand city facilities somewhere else? And I think Scott's right when he says, you know, really the The strict reading is it can be used to expand the community complex. So in theory, we could, look at ways that we could build additional space onto this building. That revenue is about $900,000 each year. Currently, we've talked in our policy discussions about roads for pledging half of that money toward arterials. But that leaves the other half that could also be used for other capital purposes, but could be used for something like this. So certainly not looking for direction tonight on how to fund it, but we are wanting to raise the issue in a more formal way tonight. Take your direction on, further keep looking into this, keep looking into those funding options if that is your direction, and we would come back to you as we learn more, as circumstances change. But that's all we have tonight.
Just one addition is the next step would be, with council's direction and approval, would be a site assessment. I mean, we'd hire a consultant to help us assess sites, look at city inventory.
We could start to look at where could this fit,
Right.
those kinds of things. So
I do have a question. That was one of the things I was going to bring up, but you already brought it up. Do you currently utilize the Riverside Library? I know there was supposed to be the substation that was going to be used in there. Are you currently using that?
Yeah, not full-time, of
Right.
course, but occasionally an officer will go down there and meet a citizen or write a report. Not as much as we'd like them to, but we're encouraging it.
I mean, I definitely 100% agree that you guys definitely need a new facility. I know even when we do council tours in there, just with some of the council members and some of the city staff, it's really crowded in there. And one of the main things that I want to look out for is not only the police officer's safety and your safety, of course, but the community safety as well. When you have suspects or, people that you're interviewing that are coming in and out of that facility that also have contact with the general public, that could open up a lot of doors for, potential harm. And we don't want that to not only our, citizens, but, our officers as well. I know before, there was other council members, on past council that talked about looking at, possible mill levy increases, because I know some of them have said that have not been increased for quite a while, and we have one of the lowest mill levies in the surrounding communities. That might be something to take a look at as well. I don't think going back out and maybe asking for another tax increase or any type of increase is going to really fly, especially if we're trying to do roads and get, our infrastructure built up, but that's something to maybe take a look at. But I definitely agree, you guys need a new facility, and maybe even consider maybe a substation as we can continue to grow and expand, especially out west. I mean, you guys need to be able to get the calls pretty quickly in the community. So, I mean, maybe a new facility with maybe a couple small little substations so you can service the whole community in a timely manner.
I think the fire department went through this exact same thing a few years ago, and instead of getting a new facility, they decided that the facility where they're at was at a very convenient location, central to all, and it did a really nice renovation and addition to it. My suggestion had been, and I think the public would be more for this, is to build a new rec center and allow the police department to expand over into this, maybe move the city staff over to the rec center part and allow them to grow into this area. I think that the public would be more for a new rec center. Also, I do know, as in the case of the Eaton Rec Center, that there was a large oil and gas company that paid for about 90% of their shiny new rec center. So I think that for me, that's more of a possibility. I mean, this is a really good location. Even as we expand west, I think that, with the corridor here and as close as we are to Garden City and some of the troubles, I'm sad to say that I think this side of town probably needs more attention for the police. So that's just my suggestion, is to look into, maybe moving the rec center instead. I think we have more grants and funding for that kind of a thing. And then have this renovated for the police department. And also utilizing the old wastewater treatment building too for storage.
While I'll agree with you on that aspect, but I wonder what the cost of renovating this building would be to hold the police department with all of the stuff that they're looking with, you know, putting in a larger evidence room, putting in holding, that cost could even be more than building a new facility. They might need a lot of updates for this building for them to expand in here with all of what they need and what their services require. I mean, I agree with you, but there could be a cost prohibitive based on their needs as well.
Other comments?
Well, with all the growth out by this new school in Tuscany that we're looking at, I know that fire district is taking a look at having to put a new station out west. I would like to see, I know that in the past, I think Chief Warren Jones and the chief had discussed a joint facility. I think before they split off into their own separate district, but I think maybe we should contact the fire district and see if they would be interested in going in together on a joint facility out there somewhere. And I think we've got some land that might be already designated for parks. So I don't know whether we use that or not for a site possibly out there, a little bit west of where the Prairie Heights subdivisions, school subdivision is going in.
Other
I would
comments?
like to see a facility. I mean, we're currently 21 years in that, you know, in the police department's in that facility for 21 years. I've been in there. We pride ourselves for safety, but yet our officers are not safe in there. And I think that, you know, they need the space. And in order to, you know, be efficient and be able to get out there and also grow with the city, I think a new facility would definitely be warranted. I would like to see options on funding sources and where we can find maybe some kind of grant or an option or options of what we can do to get this, make it happen. In addition to that, I also see there's a variety of other things that, you know, the police department needs. You know, I know they have body cams, but also the patrol cars don't have, you know, dash cams and stuff like that, which are definitely a need. But this definitely will help with the city's growth for the future, as well as safety and consideration. Again, safety first. I think our police department needs this. So that's my stance on that.
Other comments?
I have a couple of quick questions. What's our current police impact fee? Do we have one?
We do, and it's relatively low. It's approximately $80 per dwelling unit. It was intended for, I do not believe it factors in cost for a new station. So
Right.
one other source will be the next time we go out for a impact fee study, which will be probably in the next 6 months, we need to include this need.
I think that would be great, because I think that could help with a lot of this. But then, to a few points that have been made, I think it could also help with kind of probably remote locations, where you could have, so I've got fire districts that they rent a portion of the space to the police, really just to have a base. It's not at all a big facility, but more of a base. And that would be advantageous for sure, but I think honing in on what that impact fee could be would really help, because when you look at the service population and where it's going, I think so much of that is driven by that. The other question I have is there really, how much of a correlation is there between the service population and staff? Because I look at Firestone and think, well, their service population is low, but they're right along I-25. They've probably got a little bit different need. Am I thinking of that correct, or?
And I would argue there is no direct correlation between population. What we do when we do our staffing studies is we actually look at volume of calls for service and how long we spend on those calls and that sort of thing. So it's not really a direct correlation to the
It's
population.
a reference point, but
It's just a reference point.
Right, okay, good. And that's, when I've done the impact fee studies for other districts, emergency service districts, that's how we did it, was on call volume and looked at it that way. So that makes a lot of sense then for me. I think if we could get that up to date, it would be very advantageous and ideally help to bring down that cost quite a bit. Beyond that, I think that could help to fund whatever we do long-term. So that's my main concern, but this should be a massive priority for our community.
I agree.
Anyone else?
I just want to talk about the funding for a second here. I don't think that we should shuffle our words around and our funding around to meet the needs when we have a sales tax that's designated for a certain thing. And we're looking for roads and those kind of improvements to kind of change the verbiage to meet the needs of getting a new police station. I mean, I'm all for the police and our department's fabulous, but I think that we do need to look at impact fees and other means and then leave our sales tax to what we've already promised to be for, especially when we're looking for a new tax.
You're talking about the 1%. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, that's separate.
Yep. Anyone else?
Well, in most of these tax proposals, they have a little bit of flexibility in some of the verbiage to bend the rules, I guess, bend them a little bit more. But when it's more specific wording, like Jim was talking about, then I don't think we can do that.
I wouldn't be in favor of
wouldn't be in favor of
changing what we're looking for roads anyway. That's strictly roads.
There's been enough of that in the city in the past with taking and dipping into funds that they weren't supposed to buy equipment with the water fund.
So straying away from all that, but, a different option, clearly. I think it'd be the approach that we should go.
MPs, mill levy override.
We should
Mayor, I think it is worth being very clear that staff is certainly not proposing in the least that we change the focus that we have on roads or any of the concept around the new sales tax. I think we touched for a minute on the food tax, where there's still some capacity there. But again, this is nothing that I'm recommending that we prioritize immediately, because I think we have a pretty clear plan that we don't want to muddle in the next few months. So just from staff standpoint, if council has a different priority, we'll certainly follow.
Well, I think, while I appreciate that, I do think our priority needs to be police and roads. I really think it should be an and, because I think this is gonna take a while. So you're right in that we're looking at going for a potential tax for our roads, but I think at the same time, alongside that, we need to be considering how we're gonna fund this, because as a resident, that's a huge priority, and I would bet that most residents would agree with that. So what I don't wanna do is be so focused on one thing that we forget this, and then the time comes and we're too late. So I'd rather be focused on both.
Right. Play that in the background like they're doing,
Exactly.
but focus,
Just make sure we're moving forward with the
Exactly.
impact fee study, and, because as soon as we get that, we can start collecting that on new homes. I just don't wanna miss any opportunities there.
I think you have a clear consensus, myself included, we have to do something.
Yes.
It's just how you're gonna come to us and show us how we can pay for it. That's gonna be the main thing. I think the food tax idea is great. I wish Scott found a little more wiggle room in that area than having you. Do we have the land here to do it?
We haven't done the site study. We want to look at it. I think we could get creative, and we'd certainly want to look to see if we do.
I remember a few years back, somebody said either we were gonna purchase land or we own the land right in between this building and I don't know what's on the other side of the parking lot over there.
We do own the land to the south of this building to the fence.
Okay.
As I've heard it, and others have the history better than I, that may have been earmarked for expansion of the rec facilities out back. Brian, is that correct?
So I guess that's my question. Does it have to be on the building that is, as it
Right.
exists now, or the land that's included on this building? Fudge it,
Yeah.
Scott, let's get it. But I like the idea of the food tax and then the impact fee study, and I think if we can use that both, then maybe even if you have to go out for a small bond, maybe not a big bond, but if you're using those two, we could do it, so.
Just out of curiosity, Chief and Commander, where would your ideal facility be? Where would you put it?
You know, in terms of a location, we're not like a fire station, so I don't need to be in a particular area, but what I would like is ease of access for the public if they need to get to us, high visibility, everybody knows there's a police department. This location is a good location, in my mind, for a police department. We don't have a facility for it, but yeah, just, we can be just about anywhere. I want to stay, you know, to where we can easily access the rest of the community. So having quick access to 85, quick access to 37th, quick access to 11th is a convenient location.
Centralized.
Yeah.
And I think what the city, the staff is doing is bringing in, showing a need and a potential need with the anticipated growth and the projects that are coming before council now. And they're asking us, they're saying, we need to plan for this, and they're asking our permission to go ahead and plan for it, and they will, hopefully we'll figure out some way to fund it.
Yep.
But at least we're taking the necessary steps to move forward with it. I'm not saying, well, we don't have the money for it, let somebody else worry about it in the future.
I agree, we're planning for it, and that's what's working. The issue is now that we're there, we're full, we're at it now, so. we
Yep.
can do it quick.
Keep
Anything else?
working on it, coming up
Thank
with
you.
solutions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chief.
About 10 minutes left. Next item on the agenda is road improvement tax planning update.
Thank you, Mayor. This really is just an update. We had told council when we last talked about the road tax, that we would have town hall meetings, public meetings in October. So we have those dates firmed up and location that we will start to be publicizing. Of course, the mayor, I think, made a public announcement of council's intent at the State of the City event last week. So the word and the buzz is out there. Your staff report contains kind of the guts of our plan moving forward. We'll keep having these updates on the various public information pieces too. But in terms of those town hall meetings, we have 3 scheduled. First is Thursday, October 17th at 6:30 here at the Evans Community Complex. The second one is we wanted to do a Saturday in the morning for folks who might not be able to attend in the evening. Saturday, October 19th at 10 a.m. at the Riverside Library and Cultural Center. So we're going to hold that one on the east side. And then we're going to go out west on Tuesday, October 22nd your staff report says 6:30 at Prairie Heights. We actually had a change today where that facility is not available that day. So we have arranged for a meeting at 7:00 p.m. at N.K. Hyman Elementary School. So we're going to kind of move the meetings around. We will correct that, and in all of the public information that you'll start to see, we'll have those 3 meetings. The purpose of those meetings is really to hopefully, get the people back who were involved last time. We have a list of individuals who are involved with the infrastructure task force. We have notes of people who have expressed interest and who have said this is important. So we'll be calling all of those people, trying to get them to the meetings. Also, using all of the available communications channels that we have, including a citywide postcard, a mailing the postcard will advertise the meetings, social media. We missed the utility bill for next month, but we'll be using the Evans Express, and I think we'll also try some yard signs. Those have been effective for us.
Very good.
So we'll be getting the word out about those meetings. The purpose there will be really updating the community on kind of, again, some of the talk about good news campaign that we've been doing, building momentum, and then recapping the problem, the road conditions, the need for the arterials, the inability to fund both of those things without the tax, and then we'll kind of outline the points of the potential sales tax as the council has talked about it. We're going to end that meeting, I hope, with our mayor and any of our council members really appealing to the public, to the people there, about the importance of getting involved. I think we need to use those meetings to get people to schedule meetings for us. We need meetings with HOAs, churches, schools, neighborhoods, in people's homes if they're willing. But
Canvassing.
the
People
plan
to
will,
canvass.
right, the plan will be to get out before the official campaign and talk to whomever will talk to us during late October, November, and really up to the holidays. And then probably, we haven't figured out based on the election schedule yet, but mid-December or early January will be the time for the council to place the measure on the ballot, and that's when the effort will shift into campaign mode, where the staff takes a step back and the council and the community can take the lead. So there'll be more on that coming. But just wanted to have some schedule in front of you tonight, talk about what we're doing at the staff level. The big information that we're finalizing is the updated pavement condition. We had that analysis. Right now, it looks like a lot of the big numbers, average pavement condition, isn't changing much from the last message. So, that's that PCI. But we'll have more for you on that, hopefully at your next meeting. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions or comments real quick?
So for the, like advertising, like postcards, mail outs and stuff like that, are we gonna also have them in Spanish?
Yes.
Yes, okay, just making sure.
I don't know that we'll be mailing them that way. We'll be marking that they are available. It's hard to know. We can have, I'd like, any thoughts that you have.
Considering that 48% of our population here in Evans is Spanish speaking, I think that's important for us to also send things out in Spanish so we can get, our Spanish speaking population out as well. And even the town halls, if we're able to somehow have someone like a translator or someone to help and assist with, translations, even if they're live, maybe subtitles of some sort that we can utilize just to capture more of an audience would be useful as well.
Yeah, we can talk offline too, but how to optimize that.
Jim, would it be possible to have something, I call it a school flyer? I think of like Liam comes home, he has his homework folder and I open it and there's something from the rec center, like
His
register for baseball.
His Tuesday folder, right?
Right,
Tuesday.
so is there a way we can do that? I just know as a parent, that's super convenient. My child happens to go to an Evans school, and I think probably a lot of Evans parents have kids that are at MK Hyman or Chapello or Centennial, wherever. But I think we had that, if we could do that, it's literally just a slip of paper, but every parent sees it,
So right now, the school with the bond, they did that. They've already, sent out,
We have
flyers for that.
Pastor
So if
Bilal
we can
City.
get
Right,
that
because
information.
I know we get stuff for the rec center and all of that kind of stuff. I get random stuff, but it's always pretty difficult to.
We approached the school district last year about that, and we weren't able to gain access as directly as we would have liked. We are having that conversation again this year. Of course, if we do it in an informational way, and I think promoting these meetings, they might be more open to that than they would something that's campaign related. So
Right, exactly, and that's just my thought of, hey, see it or town hall, or whatever.
Yep,
information.
we're working on that. Thanks.
Anyone else? Got 2 or 3 minutes. Anybody got anything for council discussion?
How was the state?
Sorry?
State of the city.
I thought it was great.
fantastic.
Thought it went really well, so thank you. I understand people had to work, so
I
couldn't be there.
kind
But it was really
of, I
good.
tuned in, online and stuff, but I wish I was present. That was,
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. The turnout was excellent.
I thought it was a great turnout.
Thank you.
Quick check. Something we should do again
Absolutely.
next year? Okay.
maybe at a different time, if possible, like evening would be great.
After 6.
Yes, 6:30.
Sorry. Sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get ready.